Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar to everyone on the line. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. My name is Charles Green. I'm part of the marketing team here at Belatrix Software, and I'm going to be your host today. Today we're going to be discussing how Scrum Masters can drive value in Agile software development projects. Today's session is completely unscripted with the exception of a few key questions that we've prepared. So feel free to engage with us, particularly on Twitter, where we're going to be using the hashtag Scrum Master 2015. You can see that there on the first slide. So if you have any specific questions that you want to ask us or ask our panel, we're absolutely delighted to take them during the course of today's session or indeed after the call. For those not familiar with Belatrix, we're a leading provider of software development services with expertise in product and mobile application development. Everything we do is Agile, so we have a tremendous amount of expertise in Agile projects. We've been there when things have worked well, we've been there when things haven't gone so well, when we've made mistakes, and we've learned from those mistakes. We have delivery centers in Mendoza and Buenos Aires in Argentina, as well as in Lima, Peru. But the vast majority of our clients are in the US, so when we also have expertise in the so-called distributed Agile, which we'll also be discussing a little bit later, and how that also influences the role of the Scrum Master. And actually we're conducting this webinar in a distributed manner with guests in Lima, in Mendoza, and also in the US. So today I'm very happy to be joined by some of Belatrix's most senior Scrum Masters to discuss their experiences and discover some of the best practices for Scrum Masters, how to work best in distributed teams, and how to become that crucial link with the CTO or the CIO. So let's, without further ado, let's go around and I'm going to ask each of you to briefly introduce yourselves to today's audience. Just ask you to briefly introduce yourselves and also what you enjoy most about being a Scrum Master. And perhaps let's just kick off with Carlos.
Hello everyone, I'm Carlos Castillo. I'm a software engineer. I've been working on Belatrix for over 1 year as a Scrum Master and a couple of years back in the Agile world. What I enjoy the most from Agile, I think, is actually working with people. It's very interesting to work with a different mix of people in different projects and the challenge and difficulties that each of the single projects itself represent.
Okay, great. Rusi?
Hello everyone, my name is Uzi Mamani. I work as a software developer since 1997. I came go at Belatrix in 2013. Now I became a team leader 8 months ago. So I enjoy working with Agile way because it's really fast deliver value to the client, and we need to improve, learn more fast than ever we could. So that's the thing that I like of Agile methodology.
Okay, excellent. Matthias?
Hello, my name is Matias Lopez. I've been working in Belatrix since 2006. I'm currently a Scrum Master in 3 different projects. I'm a Scrum Master since 2011. I think that is, I really enjoy to be a Scrum Master because it represents to me a challenge to be a facilitator between the team and the product owner.
Yeah, excellent. And Mauricio?
Hello everyone, my name is Mauricio Jose. I have been working in system development for more than 10 years. The last 8 I have been part of Belatrix team. Also, probably almost the last 5 years I have been performing the role as a Scrum Master in different teams, distributed ones. Currently I have 2 teams that I'm working for. One of the things that I really enjoy to be a Scrum Master is to help teams to success, to provide the tools and the things they need in order to achieve their goals and be success and enjoy working together.
Okay, excellent. And we're also very happy today to be joined by a renowned Agile expert, Jeff Glennon. So perhaps Jeff also ask you to introduce yourself as well.
Sure. Hi, Charles, and thanks for inviting me today. So my name is Jeff Glennon. I've been coaching Scrum and Agile teams in the Boston area for almost 15 years now. I'm the founder of a company called Software Delivery Labs, and we founded that company basically to help other companies with their software delivery challenges, and we use a lot of Agile and Scrum techniques on those projects. What I like most about Scrum projects and Agile projects, I like watching the team transform and take ownership for their own success. And that's not normal on other types of projects. So I think that's about it.
Okay, excellent. Well, firstly, thank you for that, and I think it's particularly interesting. Many of your introductions, you spoke about working with people, achieving goals, and what you mentioned there, Jeff, watching the team transform. So really, the first main topic that I would like to get to in this roundtable today is to get more detail about specifically what is the Scrum Master role and how does that add value to the client and to the particular product. And to help answer this, what I'm going to ask first is, how would you first describe the Scrum Master role? And then secondly, how would you describe the difference between the Scrum Master role and, say, a typical project manager role?
Okay, I think I can start talking a little bit about it. First of all, I think the Scrum Master and a project manager are different roles. Both are important in the project, but both have different things to do for the projects. In general, we know the project manager role is mostly in charge of managing the project, the resources, the milestones, the times that we need to deliver something. But the Scrum Master is a different role. In my experience, and at the time I have been working in that role, the Scrum Master is more in charge to support the team, to be a facilitator for the team in order to solve their problems, to help them to solve their problems, to provide them the tools that they need to achieve their goals, and of course to handle expectations between the teams and the stakeholders that are involved in the project. So it's a role more dynamic in terms of they're in the daily basis contact with the team, and also being in contact with the stakeholders in order to align their expectation and to success both together in the project.
Yeah, I agree. Basically, I see the project manager more as a leader, a decision maker, probably a planner, and I think that the Scrum Master is more like a facilitator of the team, of the product owner, and also a coach and a guardian of the Agile methodology. He is always in charge of making the adjustment to stick to the methodology, to the Agile methodology.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts, perhaps even Lilo?
No, I agree with all that.
Yeah, it's actually correct. The project manager, as I mentioned, is like a decision maker, and is the one who is in charge of the project itself, right? So the Scrum Master is not really in charge of the project. It's not really at the head of the project, because that is, I think, the team. The team is the one that develops everything that the project requires. The Scrum Master is actually a servant leader, right? It's there to support the team, to support the product owner, to support the stakeholder, to support the senior management in order to understand the Agile process and guide them into successfully achieving a good product, right?
And in that sense, that's absolutely how you're then delivering the value, right? Because you're helping to facilitate that team, you're helping to produce a team that's going to perform better than they would do without that role.
Right, like in the day-to-day, you have a lot of groups there. You have the team, you have the product owner, you have the manager. So you try to get all of them to communicate with each other, right? So they can talk, negotiate, sort of plans, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what is your sense about, is it only that senior people and managers who can be a Scrum Master, or what are the kind of characteristics that you would look for in a Scrum Master?
No, as far as I understand and my experience said, is you don't need to be a senior manager or a senior developer sometimes to be a successful Scrum Master. Of course, as much experience you have, more things that you can do. You have more experience, have more project that you have be part on. So everything definitely will help you to be a better Scrum Master. But you don't need to be a senior manager or a senior developer or a senior QA in order to be a successful Scrum Master. It's part of the role. You will learn as a different part of the thing. You will learn how to do it better. You will fail and you will learn about your own mistakes, and you can do it better next time. No, in other words, if you are a senior manager, for instance, it will not be or it would necessarily be that you will be a senior Scrum Master. It doesn't mean in that way.
Yeah, I agree with Mauricio. I think that the fact of being a manager or a senior developers is not enough to be, or probably it's not something that assures that you are going to success as an Scrum Master. I think that Scrum Master gather different skills that are different to the ones that probably may or may not have a senior person or probably a manager. I think that as a Scrum Master, you have to be focused on completely different things, probably by having an understanding of the methodology and overall understanding of the industry of the process that you are going to apply Agile on. It's going to be enough probably to be a successful Scrum Master.
Okay, excellent. Would you agree with all that, Jeff?
Yeah, I would. In lots of the projects I've seen, especially lately, when there's new Scrum or Agile implementations, it tends to be the senior people on the team who volunteer to be Scrum Masters initially. I think that's normal because it's like there is some leadership there and there is responsibility there. But as projects and as teams start to get more mature and people get more comfortable with the process and their own, skill set, I think what happens is, the people on the team who are more interested in the process or just want to grow their career tend to gravitate towards the Scrum Master roles. And I've seen the senior people on the team take a back seat and then more junior people on the team stepping up a little bit. So I think, there's no rule that says managers can't be Scrum Masters, but I think the industry is tending to shy away from that and promoting like self-managing teams and that type of stuff. So I think, like I said initially, I think senior people tend to jump in and take over the role. And as the organization gets more mature, more junior people step in and senior become very successful. I will say that I'm not sure why, but in lots of projects I've been on, I've seen people from the QA world step into Scrum Master roles very successfully. I'm not saying that developers aren't good Scrum Masters. I've just seen on the projects I've been on, there seems to be a heavy QA presence as Scrum Masters. Just an interesting side note.
Very, very interesting. I mean, are there particular characteristics that you look for if you're perhaps guiding a company to find out who may be most appropriate for a Scrum Master? Are there particular characteristics?
Yeah, I think patience is very important because as a Scrum Master, you especially if you're a senior person, right? You really want to jump in and help the team succeed, and you really want to give them the answers, but you really can't. If you want the team to succeed, they have to grow into the process and their own roles themselves. So I think patience and someone who is willing to, I mean, this sounds counterintuitive, but you have to be willing to let a team fail for a couple of sprints so they can learn from it. They can learn how to make the best decisions themselves, because if you're being too prescriptive, you're not helping. I know, and like I said, it's counterintuitive, But so, like I said, skills, patience, and guts, because, anybody who's been in a real, Scrum retrospective will tell you some really interesting stuff comes out, and you have to be able to set the team up to be able to communicate honestly with each other. It's very important. I mean, I think the retrospective may be the most important Scrum artifact, and we can talk about that all day, but I think guts, I think some leadership traits, and patience are, to me, probably the top 3 skills that any Scrum Master needs.
Okay, excellent. Any other thoughts perhaps from Mendoza regarding that?
No, I agree with Jeff. Probably patient and learn to listen everyone in the team. Promote the space to everyone to speak up, to say what they think, give the space to everyone in the team to say what they're feeling and how they think they can do it better. It's always important as well.
Yeah, create a healthy environment to allow the people to express their thoughts. It's really important.
Yeah, sure. Actually, interesting, we just have a question from the audience just about that topic, and the question we have is that in thinking about the transition from waterfall to agile, what roles typically make good Scrum Masters? You have any thoughts about that?
I can jump in there, Charles, if you want. So in the traditional role, like I said, it's natural for senior people, managers on the team, to take the Scrum Master role, initially. But one of the really difficult things about the transition from waterfall to agile or Scrum, whatever you want to call it, is managers find themselves a little bit lost, right, and a little bit nervous because, people talk about agile and Scrum teams being self-managing. So what do you do? I mean, the traditional manager role turns into like a supporting role and helping set the environment for teams to succeed, like making sure that teams have the right skill set on the Scrum teams, people can get the answers they need. It becomes like a manager is responsible for setting the ecosystem for the team's success. If you want specifics on, again, I would still go back to, mid-level to senior QA people being, the more natural Scrum Masters. I actually don't have a good answer for why. It's just what I've seen in action, right? But yeah, I think the QA, keep an eye on your senior QA people. I think they're the future Scrum Masters if you're doing a new Agile, a new Scrum rollout.
Yeah, very interesting. Kind of also moving on slightly from that, I know often a typical question is, how do you know if a Scrum Master is effective or not? What is really perhaps some of the metrics, or how would you evaluate whether or not a Scrum Master is effective?
I think the focus of the Scrum Master should be in the growth of and the well-being of the team. It will the Scrum Master should focus on convert the team in more effective team in order to be more reliable, deliver software often, teach them or guide them in the ways that they should learn from their mistakes. So, in my opinion, in a way to measure how effective is a Scrum Master is if the team grows on the time.
Yeah, right. As I think one of my managers in some time in the past told me, our role is to make things happen, right? So I think you could measure that by the results, actually. So if you have a product that is good, reliable, you have a team that is maturing, motivated, and you have a PO and stakeholders that are happy, I think you could say that your Scrum Master is working because it's getting everything to happen.
Excellent. I think, Jeff, you were about to say something there.
I was. Good catch, Charles. I think for anyone listening who's wondering if the Scrum Master is doing a good job, one really, really simple test to do is just drop in on any of the Scrum meetings, whether it's a daily stand-up or it's a you probably shouldn't drop in retrospective, but any of the Scrum meetings, and just watch the dynamics of the team. If the Scrum Master is doing all the talking, something's wrong. it means the team is not engaged. It means that the team doesn't feel empowered. So I think you can really, really quickly gauge whether a Scrum Master is being effective or not by watching how the team work with each other, how they talk to each other, and how they perform in meetings. So like I said, if you go to a meeting and the Scrum Master is asking all the questions, he's making people participate, something's wrong. I think those types of things are kind of expected for a new team, like 1 or 2 sprints. But after that, the team should be feeling comfortable enough to participate and step up. And that's the Scrum Master's job, as the guys have already said. It's the Scrum Master's job to set that stage, to create that environment where it's safe to speak up and be honest and participate. So I think anybody who's looking for a way to really quickly gauge whether the Scrum Master is being effective, just jump in a meeting. And as the guys already said, if you've got a mature team who have been together for a couple of months, they really should be hitting their commitments consistently. And I don't mean like a machine. I mean, estimation is very difficult, and no one gets it perfect. But they should be, feeling successful, hitting most of their commitments every sprint. And so that's another tool you can use. But you just got to be careful of it, because like teams are not machines, and everybody's human. So I think they are 2 things that I've used in the past, and they've been pretty good ways of measuring success of a Scrum Master.
Okay, excellent. I think moving on slightly, we discussed a lot about Scrum, and for many companies it's the case that they are still in the process of experimenting in a small team with Agile. But as they become more successful and as they see the results of that, in many cases they want to expand that within their enterprise, and often that involves moving to more of a distributed model where you're working with a team. It's not necessarily sitting together, but you're working with people in different locations, but all together within one team. So I want to ask a little bit about how you work effectively with distributed teams. What are perhaps your 2 or 3 best practices that will help make a distributed Agile team more successful? Perhaps with this, let's go to Mendoza. It has to be either Matthias or Mauricio, if you have any thoughts on that.
Okay. I think that in my particular opinion, the fact of having distributed teams makes you lose some of the face-to-face communication or the nonverbal language, right? So I think that in order to improve this situation, you have to add or pay more attention on how you organize your meetings in order to try to get as much information for the team participant as you can. For example, paying attention to have a camera or for the distributed team, being on the same room with your local team. I think that is the things that you have to pay attention in order to avoid losing information on your meetings about the team members.
Yes, I agree with Matthias. We have been talking about providing the right environment for the team, and I think having the distributed team is challenging for Scrum Masters in order to provide the same environment for 2 teams that are not located in the same building or in the same place. So as Matthias said, try to provide the right tools to allow people to communicate efficiently. This is one of the most important things that we need to take in consideration. Apart from the communication, I think it's very useful to have a very good tool or something that helps to the team to share the visibility of the project. No matter if you're in the same building or in the same office, if you are able to see, okay, how this is going, where are the status of the project, how the tasks are completed, the burn down, or some other tool that helps the team to share the same vision for everyone, even if you are in different places, I think is a very useful thing to take in consideration and to improve the distributed teams to work together as a one team and go to complete the goal that they have defined as a team.
Yeah, I agree.
So provide environment is a very important thing.
And here in Lima?
One thing that works for me is, for example, in the meetings, we always have the camera on in order to you can watch the other people in the other side. it helps them. For example, if you can see the factions, how the people react, for example, in a retrospective, or maybe the corporal language. That thing is important. Another thing is, for example, if we have meetings, design meetings or discussions, we always tape them with our digital cameras or our cell phones, and then if someone can go to the meeting, we can always send the video, and they can watch it and tell us after what can we change or her opinions or about that. So that kind of things works better, at least in my case.
And in your case, your teams will be distributed in what kind of locations would they be in?
Yeah, in my project we have 1 hour difference, and the team we work with people in India and USA, so we use these tools and works great so far.
Excellent. Carlos?
Well, yes, as they say, working with distributed teams, I think the main risk on the other part is that the outside people tend to lose visibility about what they are doing as a team. So it's important to, as they say, to work harder on the communication channel by having meetings on a daily basis. But apart from the meetings that usually you have with the Scrum, you should also have meetings or encourage people, the team members, to have meetings or calls directly with their colleagues, right? And also identify possible risks and blockers from each of the meetings in order to minimize the impact once they, if they happen, right? And also, yes, a great challenge is also when you have different teams or even the product owner or some other person, another stakeholder on different time zones. So you have to be very careful there and try to work effectively on each of the meetings days in order to get the team done what they should deliver.
I have one thing more. It's using another techniques like extreme programming. I mean, test-driven development, unit testing, all the things that you can get in order to learn fast and know if you are wrong or not, because your feedback takes more time when you have distributed team. So that another tip that I have.
Hey Charles, could I jump in for a second, please? One thing I've done in the past, it's a really simple thing. I mean, for a Scrum Master, it's really your job to figure out a way to help make your team successful, right? So I remember on one project I was on, we were having a challenge with, the team was distributed, and the quality of the finished product wasn't great, and we were trying to figure out the best way to solve that problem. And one of the things we did was we had the QA guys on the outsourced team partner with the local team, which was in Boston, and so we partnered each QA person with a QA person locally to help them walk through the test cases together and help them learn the product together. So there's lots of simple things like that you can do rather than having a team, banging their head against the wall to try to please the customer. It's you can go out, you can figure out different ways to help your team succeed. So partnering, if it's possible, your team who are local with someone who is distributed, help them figure out the product together, help them understand what success means for their role. This was a QA person to QA person. So I think we can think outside of the box. It's great to have, the cameras and the meetings, but I think there's other things you can do as a Scrum Master. You got to be thinking, what else can I do to help my team be successful?
Okay, excellent, thank you. Moving on then, I also want to start to talk a little bit about the importance of the client's Agile Maturity. I think as I mentioned before that for many organizations perhaps they're just starting to move on their Agile journey. So my question now to the panel is, how important is the client's Agile Maturity, and related to that, what do you do if the client has never used Agile before? They simply, they're looking for advice, they're looking, they've heard about Agile, but they really don't have that experience? Let's start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. So what I usually do is, forget about Agile or Scrum or any of that stuff for a second. I always dig really deep to try to figure out what problem the client is trying to solve with Agile or Scrum, and figure out what are their major pain points. There's no point in talking to people about Scrum Masters and sprints and retrospectives if they're not even ready to even go down that road. So if a customer is looking for a silver bullet, is looking for an answer to all of their problems, their development problems, the QA problems, the process problems, and they think Agile is the answer, well, that's going to be a really tough customer to make happy over the next few years. I really feel setting expectations is the first thing you do, and figuring out what problem you're trying to solve is the first conversation. Like, for example, I was on a project maybe 2 years ago, and the client he came to me and said, look, I think my development team is too slow, I don't think my QA team can test, and I want you to bring in Agile and help that problem. And Agile's not going to do that. I mean, it's going to help expose the problem even worse, right? Because it's all about transparency. It's all about, ownership, and that was never a good expectation to begin with. So it took me, 2 months of just going forward with the client to try and set the right expectations. So I didn't want to put a team in there and have them fail right away. People are people. So I think for a client with no Agile maturity, with no idea what to expect, it's really finding out what problem they're trying to solve and setting appropriate expectations right at the beginning. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, great. Any thoughts in Mendoza from Mauricio or Matthias?
Yes, I definitely agree with Jeff about it. And also have some experience with some clients that have their own process for development, and they think they do Agile, or they have some ideas on how to do the work. And in those cases, something that's very helpful for me is to talk with them and start making changes over the existing process without trying to change everything from the very beginning. If you have already a team that is working in some way, it's not a good idea to just change everything and start everything from scratch, because probably they have their own way to work, they think they are doing well, so start in a gradual way, applying different things and start doing some changes to the process. It definitely will help to success or to start applying Agile in the best way that just starting from the very beginning and remove everything and do it from the scratch. So I think it's for companies that already have some process that is working on that, probably start making changes progressively is the best way to apply or to start moving to an Agile methodology.
Yeah, I totally agree with both Mauricio and Jeff about their thoughts around this topic. And in addition, I think that something important on the client side is how open to change is, because probably if they are not applying completely an Agile methodology, you should probably make some changes in the way that they work, and not only align a team, you have to align the one who produced they create in their mind the project, the stakeholders, the product owner, and you have to progressively align all these characters in the methodology to be aligned with the Agile methodology.
Yeah, I said not just the IT part of the company needs to change. It doesn't mean you only, okay, I'm going to talk with the developers, I'm going to talk with the QA people, and we all together we are going to change everything, and now we are going to do it in an Agile way. It means that if we as a company decide to apply an Agile methodology to develop our product, probably we will also need to change or talk with the stakeholders, as I said, define a product owner role, something, and everyone should be aligned with this new way to do the things in order to get better results.
So just to Yes, definitely. The maturity of a client usually, for my experience, plays a major role at the beginning of a project because I have worked with some clients that think that in Agile you could give a user story with just one line of description and that's it. The thing can start working, and they do not understand that they should work closer with the team in order to get criteria and more cases defined, right? But also there is a task for a work, for the Scrum Master in order to start coach and mentoring the product owner or even the stakeholder, since they have not any experience with the Agile. But after a couple of sprints, you will see that that things will go smoothly, luckily.
Okay. Okay, let's moving on there a little bit. Typically, although you may not be working directly with a CTO or CIO, or perhaps you will be in other instances, how do you work most effectively with them? How do you demonstrate your value to a CIO or a CTO?
Well, I could just quickly jump to that. I think the most effective way in order to show a CTO, I think given the Scrum artifacts, is the demo. It's a demo, right? So you have a good demo, you could show the CTO that the team is actually working on and is delivering what is expected to deliver. Pretty much.
Yeah, I think the delivery is a good way to talk with the client, because you are showing working software, not a document. So you should be focused on that. Another thing that I can mention is the client should be willing to participate in all the meetings that the team needs. For example, in the demo, maybe in the planning meeting or in the backlog grooming, etc. So if we need the CTO or CEO to make some decisions, well, we can invite them, and it's important that they should participate in that kind of meetings if there is some decisions that they should take.
And Jeff, any thoughts?
Sure. I think CIO, CTO, or any executive, whoever, if someone is sponsoring this Agile implementation, someone is sponsoring this project. So I think it's important to find out how they're going to measure success. So you are aligned and you understand what success means to them, and also importantly, how they're going to be measured. So you really want them to be successful in their organization. You want to make them look good. So I think a few conversations that up front, is it speed? Is it speed of delivery is how they're going to be measured? Is it time to market? Is it, growing leaders from inside the organization? That's a measurement. If you don't know how, the team, the project, or even yourself are going to be measured, well, it's going to be very hard for you to hit that goal. So I think figuring out what the criteria for success is for everybody, for the team, for the project, for the sponsor, is a critical thing to do very early. And it's not, maybe you can't get that information, but you can try, you can ask, you really want to make the sponsor of the Agile implementation look really as good as you can, because you want to make it, the whole thing, successful. So that's where I would start.
Mm-hmm. And Mauricio or Matthias?
Yeah, I was thinking something similar. I think one of the things that Scrum Master can do in order to success the whole company, not just the team or the stakeholder, is just align expectations. And probably this is related with what Jeff said. We need to know exactly, or at least the best way that we can do, how they feel, or they can feel that we are doing a good job. If they want to, deliver faster, want to get autonomy for the team, they want to how to use our resources, or probably they need to know exactly what is the most of the team is working on. The things are aligned with the company's objectives to the long term. So get all this information definitely will help us to align the expectation between the team, the stakeholders, and the CTO or CEO in that case. So probably get all the things together and moving in the same direction definitely will help us to work effectively with these roles in the company.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that trying to identify very early is going to be, I think, that an important thing to do as a Scrum Master, because in that way you can align the way that the team is going to work based on what do you discover, what is the meaning of success. So I think it's very important to define it first.
Okay, excellent. I would just remind the audience who's listening that if you do have any questions, do feel free to type into the chat on the GoToMeeting or even by Twitter as well using the hashtag Scrum Master 2015. Do feel free to ask us questions. We're here to share our knowledge and our experiences. So please absolutely feel free to type any questions. And in a few minutes we will be opening up the discussion to questions as well. Moving on, I want to ask now about what would be some of the key advice that you would give to a new Scrum Master? Perhaps to start with Jeff, if someone comes to you and asks advice, what would it be?
I think the number one piece of advice I'd give a new Scrum Master is a mistake I made quite a few times actually when I was learning how to work in the Agile world. It's don't try to force the process on people. It's not your job to make people follow Scrum. It's your job to set the framework, to help explain it, to create the environment to be successful. But don't, if it's not working, you can't force it. You have to have patience, like we mentioned earlier, and let things happen naturally. I mean, quite honestly, some people just don't want to be part of it. They don't like it. It doesn't suit them. That's totally okay. People will self-select initially, but if you come into a project as a Scrum Master and you're playing, you're acting like a dictator, it's not helping. It goes against all the fundamental, values of Scrum and Agile. So that's my piece of advice. Don't try to force it. Let it happen naturally.
Yeah, I agree. In addition, I would say that something that learned from Jeff is fail fast. Yeah, I think that is important to fail fast, to identify where do you fail, using the tools that the methodology provides as a retrospective, make the changes, measure again, and try it again. And I think that is the way to improve in each iteration.
Yeah, related with that is I think it's very important to let the team to try new things, to solve their own problems. It's not the Scrum Master role to solve the problem for the team. The team should be able to find their own way to solve the problem, find their own ways to improve, and the Scrum Master should only be sure that the team is doing that effort, is working on that phase, but definitely the team should be the one that need to, find the ways to improve and find the ways to solve the problem that they have. So probably, even if you are seeing they are not doing the thing so well, sometimes you need to, as I said before, let them fail, and they will learn from that failures.
One thing that I can add is work with the team in order to have a good definition of done. This is important because gives us the whole team what means done. So I think it will help in order to avoid technical debt or manage technical debt. But the definition of done should be clear for all the team.
Just to add, I think that from a personal experience, I would advise to be very patient, especially if you're working with a new client or with team members that are not very familiar with Agile. Also, I think you have to be very tolerant to frustration because usually in the first sprints, the team gets together. They usually, sometimes the sprint don't go very well. And I think a Scrum Master should also be a great motivator. right? Because I think to have a motivated team will deliver a good quality product.
Okay, excellent. And actually, we have a question from the audience regarding, perhaps also a piece of advice. What would you recommend, 1 week sprints or 2 weeks?
I can, go ahead, Sean.
Go ahead, Jeff. That's fine.
So, I've done everything from 1 week to 4 week sprints. So I don't like 1 or 2 week sprints, to be honest with you. I like sticking with 3 week sprints, and I'll tell you why. Especially with new teams, with immature teams, with a 1 week sprint or a 2 week sprint, there's really there's no recovery time in there. If you take on a bunch of work and you're trying to get to whatever your definition of done is, like somebody mentioned earlier, it's very rare that you can get to potentially releasable code at the end of a sprint, but that is the goal, right? Depending on how much different you've done this. I feel like with a 3 week sprint, especially with an immature team, it gives the team time to figure out not just what they're building, but figure out the process. In a 1 week sprint, you're just jumping around like crazy, trying to finish code, test code, get it finished, and it doesn't really matter what process you're using there. It's just craziness all day. I feel like if you really want the team to understand the Scrum world, the Agile world, you need to give them time to digest it in the real world. So I feel like the best duration I've seen, the best time box, is actually 3 weeks. It gives the team time to figure out what they're doing, to plan accordingly, and to just go through that cadence, build up a cadence, and deliver successfully each time. And there's a lot of overhead also if you think about all the meetings that have to happen for a team to be successful, planning and retros. To do all that stuff every week, 1 week sprints, if you're going to do it correctly, it's a lot of overhead for the team and for the company to take on. So my advice would be to go at 3 week sprints, and then if your team is really doing fantastic, you can maybe bring it down to 2 weeks. But that's kind of where I would lean on that question.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So Mauricio, Matthias, would you agree with Jeff?
Yes, I was about to say the same thing. Currently, the most of the projects I have been working on were of 2 week sprints. Probably as Jeff said, sometimes it's a short time if you have to adjust something or you need to understand well, but in my experience it works pretty well once the team has some maturity and start learning the process. 1 week sprint sounds crazy for me. Having everything in 1 week, from the planning, retro, and demo, and do it, all the definition of done. In general, we use for definition of done, QA, the task, code reviews, unit testing, and everything. It sounds crazy. So I don't think you can apply the old methodology in 1 week. But 2 weeks, I think is fine, and 2 weeks also, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Carlos, with Mauricio and Jeff. Definitely, probably 1 week is kind of crazy to have a reasonable piece of product that accomplished with all the stages that we probably think as good practice in the development process. I agree that probably 3 weeks for not very mature team, and probably 2 weeks for a mature team. It worked in the past very well for me.
Yeah. In my first project, they were thinking to move to 1 week sprint. They have a production release after every sprint, so the deployment process was one of the points they tried to improve in order to make it success. Well, looks like it's kind of crazy. Currently, they're still using 2 weeks sprint. But yes, they were thinking about it, and we have a very strong discussions about to move to 1 week sprint, especially in order to support all the artifacts that the Scrum provides in order to be a successful team.
Okay, excellent. That's I think very helpful responses. I do notice we have 10 minutes left now for the webinar, and we are coming to the end of our kind of the key questions which we had prepared. So we're now really reliant on the whole audience here to ask your questions, as mentioned, either on the chat here or via Twitter. As mentioned, we're more than happy to share our experiences and our knowledge. And actually, we just have another question which just came in on the chat, and that is, how important is it for the Scrum Master to be well versed in the technical code of their team? Should they know as much as a developer, or can they successfully manage without a background in code and development?
So I can jump in there, Charles, if nobody else will. I don't think it's important at all, to be totally frank, for a Scrum Master to be technical at all. Scrum Master's role is about setting the environment for the team to succeed in whatever skill set they're using. I've seen Scrum used in sales organizations. I've seen Scrum used in HR organizations, just as a way of tracking daily activities, right? So it's not about what you're delivering. It's about the cadence, setting the expectations, the visibility, and a team taking ownership of whatever it is they're delivering, whether it's 1,000 sales calls in a week or 1,000 lines of code. It doesn't make a difference. So I actually feel very strongly about that. I know some organizations who insist that Scrum Masters are just as technical as anybody on the team. I don't see why they would want that. Because for the role the Scrum Master is, it's not needed at all. So different organizations, different people will give, different experts will give you different answers. My answer is it's not important at all.
Yeah, very definitive answer.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that from Scrum Masters?
Yeah, have a technical background could help in a software development Scrum team. So, for example, not maybe be the team or the C# or Java guru, but maybe have a background in order to some techniques like, for example, behavior-driven development, test-driven development, and you can teach those techniques to your team members. Things like that could help, but not be a guru of software development. As Jeff said, the focus of the Scrum Master should be make that things happen, make that the team evolves and accomplish their goals. So having a background is not necessary, but could help in some scenarios. So that's my...
Yeah, I think also that the technical knowledge of a Scrum Master adds a lot of value to the team, but yes, it's not mandatory. And I think that as the time passes and the team matures, I think most teams usually select like a team leader, like a technical leader, which is in charge of managing the technical part. So for that person, yes, it's going to be very important. And that person will work closer with the Scrum Master in order to identify possible blockers, risks, etc. Right?
And was that Mauricio or Matthias who also had?
Sorry, well, Matthias. Yeah, I agree with Jeff. It's probably not mandatory to know about the probably the process development and all that stuff. But in my particular case, it helped me a lot as a Scrum Master to know about the stages or the different things of the development process. I was also in the past a developer, and it helped me a lot to probably, when we are participating on planning meetings, to probably make some, I don't know, to put my 5 cents into conversations. But I think that, as Jeff mentioned, it's not something mandatory. Probably only by knowing the Agile methodology is enough to be a successful Scrum Master.
Okay, excellent. We have one additional question on the chat as well. And this is, do you write user stories for everything, or are some tasks just tasks?
Well, as a Scrum Master, I don't used to write the user story. I receive the requirement. The team receives the requirement from the product owner as a document probably, and the team base it on the knowledge and how is more logic to split the document into user story or probably into an epic or something. They split it and create a user story.
Yeah, I think it depends on every project. I have been working in project that the user stories were written by the product owner. They write the user stories, and the team just create tasks in order to accomplish user story. In general, in that case, the tasks are more technical things related with write some code, write test cases, and so on. And in other projects, as Matthias said, right, we just get the documentation, and also the team have to write the user stories as well, and then technical tasks. In general, in my experience, we use user stories for everything more related with the business, but the user stories is the artifact that we want to accomplish. So tasks should be always related with the user story. Having a task without anything like a user story or something sometimes it's kind of weird, but it could happen. It depends.
From my experience, yes, for features and stuff like that, usually we use user stories because they are actually created by the product owner. Sometimes they are created either by myself or the team with the product owner in case we need to define a specific feature. For support tasks or specific tasks, yeah, we use the task. For example, running a script in the database, which came at the middle of the sprint, which is it's very straightforward. Just run it. So we create an additional task for that. We don't need a user story with all the tasks and description, right?
Yeah, and something that is true probably is that we are facilitators, right? And we are facilitator of the team and the PO. Probably the one who is having a problem is the PO, and we need to unblock him because the fact of not having those requirements written in some kind of way may block the team for the next sprint. So I think that if it depends. Probably if the product owners need to some way of being unblocked, you probably talk with the product owner, then write the user story, and they make him to review them in order to have his approval about them.
Hey Charles, one tiny piece of the guys are all pretty much on the money. I think whether the piece of work is a user story or as a task or even as a bug, whatever is on the board. Once it has acceptance criteria, it doesn't really matter. Once you know what it is going to make that task get into the done column, it doesn't really matter what you call it. User story, task, bug, whatever it is, technical task. So once you got some way of measuring whether that task is done, you don't have to go through the whole thing of writing user stories and making them big, very long, detailed things. Once you know what it is you're doing and how you're going to measure success, I think it's totally fine.
Okay, excellent. I think we're actually nearly at the very top of the hour now. I don't see any additional questions on the chat. So with that, I would like to bring this discussion to a close. I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone for taking the time to join us today. A recording of this session will be made available shortly, and of course the slides as well. In case you didn't get a chance to ask any questions, or that you perhaps questions come to mind when reviewing this material, then of course feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are available here. As mentioned, we thank you again for taking the time, and we hope this has been valuable to you. Thank you. Goodbye.